Welcome to the Arch Advocate podcast for Tuesday, the last day of July in 2018. Now, this is the only podcast in the world that is being broadcast from my living room right now. Enjoy the show, folks. Listen, we got a lot to get to. There was, just real quick, a little QAnon update. Now, again, Q. Who is Q? That seems to be a question that is gaining more and more gravity as time goes on. Who is this person? This man or woman or whoever, right? Now, conspiracy theory. Let me circle back around to conspiracy theory and why it is important that we even have that thing in our DNA that makes us do that. Right? Because, listen, if you can see anything, any sort of repetitive behavior in people all around the world, well, then that tells you, like, okay, well, this is part of the human condition, right? If I have it and I can see that somebody in, America has it and somebody else in Iceland has it, you know what I mean? Like, if you can see it all around the world, it's like, okay, well, this must be part of our condition. There must be some sort of purpose for this, some sort of way of enriching our lives or preserving our lives or whatever. But let me circle back around to that Q story today. Just moments ago, Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, who is affectionately referred to by Tucker Carlson and appropriately referred to as creepy porn lawyer. Right now, this is a creepy guy. This is the kind of guy that, like, you can look at him in his face. Like, this is the kind of guy that you look at him and you can easily think, like, is that the kind of guy that would kick his dog if nobody else was looking? Yeah, I think he's that guy. Is this the kind of guy that, like, if he could get away with it, would he kill people? You know what I mean? Like, he's just got that look on his face. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get too far into that. Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, seeks police help after mysterious conspiracy figure QAnon posts photo of a man in black near his office. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up actually doesn't have anything to do with conspiracy theory. And it doesn't have anything to do with identifying who Q is. Matter of fact, it doesn't really have anything other than just sort of a superficial thing. If you go to this news article, it's from dailymail.com.uk. Right now, sometimes they put good stuff, sometimes they put out crap, but whatever. If you go to this story, dailymail.com.uk, it's just, I don't know, search Stormy Daniels' lawyer. You will see pictures of a man in black carrying what appears to be some sort of, I don't know, like a not like a sharp object, but it doesn't look like a knife or anything like that, but it looks to be about 6 to 8 inches long and kind of like, I don't know, like an ice pick, but thicker. You know what I mean? Like not an ice pick, but if you fattened up an ice pick, that's probably what it would be looking like. And it would appear he has some sort of large electronic device in his other hand. And evidently, this man in black, he's built like a brick shithouse. All right, this you can only see him from behind, but this is certainly an older gentleman who can handle himself in a fight. All right, you can tell that by his build, and by even in a snapshot you can see kind of how he carries himself. Again, he's got that sort of boxer build where the shoulders are developed in such a way that it kind of pushes the head forward. But even that's actually not why I wanted to bring this up. The reason I wanted to bring this up, right? Now, to the crypto creeps, I think you're going to like this one. In this picture, okay? And pardon the noise in the background. Number one, this picture is taken in... The first thing that you'll notice is that the stop sign is backwards. So whoever took this picture purposely took a picture looking into a mirror, right? They wanted to. There's a reason for doing that. Like if you take a picture in a mirror, you get into different problems when it comes to facial recognition and whatever. This picture was taken purposely through a mirror. But even that's not what I wanted to talk about. I've told you guys many, many times, like ad nauseum. I'm sure you guys are kind of getting sick and tired of hearing me say this over and over and over again. I was a futures and commodities trader. And when I started, I was a currency trader exclusively. We traded futures and options on currencies only, and only the big eight, right? Only the countries that were in the big eight. So the dollar, the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, Swiss franc, German Deutschmark, English pound, and and French franc. Did I already say that? French franc, Swiss franc, German, whatever, the big eight. And I've told, there was one day when I told a story, I told this story of like the point of the whole story, and I don't know that everybody took this away from the story, but the point of the story that I told was like, look, you never know where somebody's at, right? You never know what people are going through. You know what I mean? Because everybody gets their turn in the barrel, to my knowledge, more than once. Everybody's got to go through it more than once. You know, everybody's going through something. And so I told this story of like, how I became a commodities trader and how hard I had to work to get my licenses and how just dead broke I was, and how bad I wanted it, and then I finally got it, and I was right, and I just, all of a sudden, I'm a star, on this trading floor of straight ballers, dudes that were making $100,000 plus a month. Most of us in our lives, we dream about getting to six figures a year. Well, everybody I went to work with, they were making six figures a month, and the guys at the top, they were making millions of dollars a month. That's balling out of control. And all of a sudden, even though I wasn't really making any money just yet because I was so new, like my opening month made me a star, right? Because I opened up, a whole bunch of clients and a whole bunch of money came in and whatever, and then it all came crashing down, and we were raided, right? Raided by the federal government, by the SEC, right? Securities Exchange Commission. The marshals were there, U.S. Marshals. Believe me when I tell you, when the marshals are involved, like you done messed up. There was the post office there, not regular postal workers. I'm talking about post office guys who carry guns and have bad humor, not in a good mood. Probably all those years working at the post office. The local PD was there. Like there was a lot of people that came busting through our door. And one of the significant points of all of that was to point out, like, we were in Newport Beach when this happened. We were in a place called Fashion Island. Now, if you are not anywhere there, if you've never been there, if you ever go to California for vacation, if you go to Southern California, if you go to Los Angeles and you want to go to the Santa Monica Pier, which I highly recommend, Santa Monica is a beautiful beach. There's a lot of weirdos there, but I mean, it is a gorgeous beach. And listen, that means a lot coming from me because I'm using the word hate here, people. I hate Los Angeles. I hate it. And Santa Monica is smack in the middle of it, right? But Santa Monica Beach and the pier and everything that comes with it's beautiful. Newport Beach is even more beautiful, and it's very exclusive. Newport Beach is like where all the richy riches go to buy their stuff. And Fashion Island is the cerebral cortex of all of it. Fashion Island is basically a mall. It's a mall that, like, dude, you could go to that mall and spend $1 million and carry out whatever it is that you're bought in a couple of bags, right? It's like they've got like when you go to the Victoria's Secret in Fashion Island, you're going to see Victoria's Secret models, not the pictures of the models, but the actual models. Those are Bulgari, place where they'll have like $10 million pieces of jewelry just sitting there in the window, right? Like it's very beautiful, very opulent. Like don't take any money, because if you do, you're gonna feel bad. Like just go there with the intention of like not spending any money, but just to see, just to walk around that mall and just be, because it's an outdoor mall, it's real pretty. But you'll see like how like that those people that have unexhaustible wealth, you will see how they live and what it is that they buy and stuff. It's crazy, the kind of stuff. It's just beautiful. Anyways, when I was a trader, when I was a currency trader, that's where I worked, because on that island there were just a handful of, I think it was 3 at the time. There's probably more now, but we worked on that island in a high-rise building that there was a couple of them, and on our floor it was our firm and Dennis Rodman's agent, who was also representing Karl Malone at the time, right? Which is kind of funny because Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone faced each other in the NBA playoffs 2 years consecutively, 2 years in a row, right? It was 97 and 98, or 96 and 97, whatever. So that guy represents, so that guy, he had other clients too, but back in 1998, there was only one person in all of sports that was more famous than those two guys, and his name was Michael Jordan, and that was it. End of list, right? When we were raided, we were on Fashion Island, next to Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman's agents, in front of God and everybody. We were in the most affluent and influential place in California. So to get busted and be raided by people with their guns out, not just people with guns, but keep people with guns drawn, that's different. And it was like 30 of them, right? When we got busted that day, my boss, his name was Brian Moore, now deceased, blew his brains out with a shotgun, pulled the trigger with his, I'm assuming his pinky toe. I don't know how you would do it with your big toe, but he had $1.2 million in cash on him that day. Now that's against the law, right? Even back then, before September 11th rules came in 1998, you were not allowed to carry more than $10,000 in cash on you without a permit, right? And the reason why that's a felony is because it's like, dude, why do you need more than $10,000 in cash? What the F are you buying? Because with that kind of money, you're either buying drugs or you're buying weapons or you're buying people. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for you to have that much money. Why do you have that much money in cash without a permit? And I know that it wasn't in a permit. I know that he didn't have a permit because it was wrapped up in a plastic, glad, black garbage bag. I saw it. I saw $1.2 million. And by the way, it doesn't look as big as you think. Like if you take I've said this before, like if you take a red brick, that you would see in a building, like a red brick, that's about what 100 grand looks like. Like if you had a stack of 100s, it would be about the size of a red brick, right? About that much. So 12 of those, right? Like, so just imagine 12 bricks. It's not very, $1.2 million, which, by the way, you could live the rest of your life on if you had that. It's the size of 12 bricks, like 12 red bricks that you would build like a chimney out of. It's not as impressive as you would think. You know what I mean? That's one thing I take. Anyways, wow. Sorry about that, everybody. Let's get back to what I was talking about. The picture of the building, if you go on to dailymail.com.uk, the picture where Michael Avenetti's office is, that Michael Avenatti had to call the cops and say, hey, everybody, if you see this guy, call the Newport PD. That building is where I worked. That's the building. Not one like it. That building, 520. That's where I used to work. It was in that building that I got busted. Not me, but my bosses, right? It happened there. And I was absolutely, I was looking, I was like, is that the building? Is that Fashion Island? Because it says Newport Beach. I'm like, oh, Newport Beach. Wait a minute, that building looks awfully familiar. Wait a minute, 520. And then I look, I'm looking at the picture, and the reason why it was that I saw that the stop sign was backwards and that the picture had been taken in a mirror was because like I was looking in the background like, oh yeah, that's right there, like on that man in black on over his left shoulder. That's where the Wells Fargo was that we used to go cash our checks at. You know what I mean? Like, I know that place. I know where that is. I know where I used to park, right? In relation to everything that's going on in this picture. I was like, whoa. So anyways, creepy porn lawyer and where his office is and all that other stuff. It's like, wow, I used to work there. So I just not wasted, but I just took 15 minutes to tell you, like, I want you to go look at this story, not because of conspiracy theory or QAnon, and not because Stormy Daniels is a professional whore, and not because Michael Avenatti is a disgusting human being, but because there's a picture of where I used to work. You're welcome, folks. That's the kind of cutting-edge journalism that I bring to this show. Anyways, conspiracy theory. Think about this, right? What is conspiracy theory? Is it truly, is it anything more than just pattern recognition? You recognize patterns in life and you identify them and you make decisions based on those patterns. Now you take a guy like, I don't know if you for those of you that are into the Joe Rogan podcast, and if you are not, I strongly recommend that you get way into it. He has a reoccurring guest on there that is kind of one of his teachers, and his name is Eddie Bravo. And Eddie Bravo is responsible for having revolutionized martial arts to an even larger degree that Bruce Lee did, right? Martial arts will never be the same from where it was 20 years ago to where it is today because of Eddie Bravo, right? Eddie Bravo is he's a martial artist himself, but he noticed certain patterns in the way that people fight, and the way that people dance, and the way that people do things, and he came up with a whole new philosophy, a whole new way of teaching, a whole new methodology. Like, he changed everything, and the reason why is because he has like sort of like a sickness, like the way that I have with numbers, you know what I mean? Like, he has that sort of sickness with pattern recognition. He just obsesses, right? And because of that, the martial arts world is forever changed for the way better. For the way better, right? However, that comes with certain, there's a certain downside to that. The thing is that Eddie Bravo sees patterns in everything, right? And I guess when I'm sort of like tiptoeing around, let me just dive right into it. The guy sees things that aren't necessarily there, right? Like, he has an opinion about flat Earth, and it's not the same as yours and mine, right? And he's got thoughts about this and thoughts about that, but that it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, well, that person's a crazy person? Are you just going to dismiss him because he does have, his problem, if you will, with pattern recognition is so severe that it kind of drives him off the deep end in certain areas? You can't do that, because if you do that, then you also have to throw away the good work that he's done that comes out of his pattern recognition mechanism for changing martial arts. It's like, no, we can't do that. You know what I mean? We have to look at Eddie Bravo and say, whoever you are, you beautiful bastard, like, what's his name says? What's that one YouTube show? You beautiful bastards. Listen, you beautiful bastard, you changed the world for the good, for the better. So we're going to have to take the crazy right along with it and be grateful for it, right? You have to be. Now, everybody has that same tendency. We all have the ability to recognize patterns and see things in life, so that way we can say, now wait a minute, I don't know what it is, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something is foul. What's the name of that he's the baseball guy for the San Francisco Giants? Foul. Like the way he says, he's just got a golden voice. I can't remember what his name is. But you see patterns and you're like, foul. I don't know what it is, but that something's out of place. Like, for example, I use this as an example because it's the easiest one to get to. It's the easiest one where even the most non-conspiracy theory guy can get on board with, right? John F. Kennedy, the assassination of a sitting U.S. president, right? This is easy. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why is this still a secret? Why, what could you possibly be protecting if it's not yourself? You're not protecting the Cubans. You're not protecting the Costa Nostra. You're not protecting the Russians. So we don't like those people to begin with. Anything that you can release that would be embarrassing, even more embarrassing to those governments or ways of life, would be an enrichment to the American people and a further causing of trust to the CIA and the FBI. So why are you keeping it secret? What are you keeping secret? We know the man got shot and was killed. What are you keeping secret? What could you possibly be keeping secret from us? That was our president. If you work for the CIA or the FBI, you are my employee. You work for me. I am your boss. I am the U.S. taxpayer, and you work for me. And the rest of the United States people. You're not an independent, you know what I mean? You don't have your own thing. You are a public servant. You didn't start some business. You didn't start Joe's Plumbing. You know what I mean? You work for the FBI. You work for the CIA. That it's not a business. That is completely funded by taxpayer dollars. It's ours. So whatever information you have, that belongs to the American people. And when you want to talk about nuclear secrets or designing new weapons, and you want to keep that stuff secret so that other people don't learn it, okay, well then you can come and stand up and say that and say, look, we can't tell you this because it's a weapon, it can be used, and if this stuff gets out, other people are going to find out and they're going to use it. It's like, okay, fair enough, keep that stuff secret. But we're not talking about that, are we? We're talking about the death of our president. We're talking about an investigation that was run by our employees. Why, after all this time, are you keeping it secret? There can only be one answer. You're trying to save yourself from embarrassment, right? You're trying to protect your offices and most likely other offices from a massive drop in public trust, right? The only reason you would be keeping that secret is because you know that when we find out, the rest of us, when we find that out, there is going to be a severe reckoning, right? The American people are going to be like, oh, that's why you kept it secret, because you're dirty, and now we need to come in there and clean house. That's why. What other reason can there be? What do you try, and so pattern recognition and conspiracy theory is like, well, if somebody's going to sit there and mock you and say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, it's like, what part of this are you looking at that doesn't look like a conspiracy, right? Well, Pete, these are the findings of the CIA, and this is what they found, and whatever, and this is what. Well, then why keep it secret? You know what I mean? No matter who you are, you come quickly. And again, I don't care, honestly. That was before I was even born. So it's like, I'm pretty removed from this. The only reason I use this particular example of conspiracy theory is because it's easy. It's easy to illustrate, one, that we do have something in us that causes us to recognize patterns and to call bullshit when we see it and say, hey, something's fishy. I smell something. Something doesn't look right here. Why are you keeping this a secret? Right? And because the problem with that is that it should lead you to other questions. First question being, why are you keeping it secret? You're a government employee, so everything you do on behalf of me. It's not the same as Papa John's Pizza or Joe's Plumbing or whatever. It's like, that's a business. You started it. It's yours. But the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. Treasury, the Department of Defense, that's our stuff, right? So the next question should be, why do you feel entitled to keep secrets from us about things that pertain directly to us. When clearly there is no, trying to keep nuclear secrets or weapons development secret. You're not. Are you saying that if we tell the truth, if we make the CIA tell the truth about what actually happened, that Kazakhstan is going to have nuclear codes? Is that what? Because if that's the case, then you need to tell us that. But don't just stand there and say, well, we just can't tell you. Well, that's not your call. It's by the people and for the people. The government is by the people and for the people. The FBI is you. The CIA is you. The presidency is you. Those are public servants. They work for us. Somewhere along the line, people have forgotten that. Somewhere along the line, we as all American, not just leftists, but even us on the right, somewhere along the line, we got it into our heads that it's like, well, we're just going to vote for these people and let them run amok and not check them when they do wrong. And that's how you get, President Clinton getting impeached and still sitting in office. That's how you get weapons, U.S. weapons being sold to drug cartels and then having those same weapons being used to kill American citizens in the Fast and the Furious with Eric Holder and Barack Hussein Obama. That's how you get that. When people just let their politicians run amok, that's how you get President Bush. Right? Again, now I voted for Bush in the second term. I voted for him, and I could still say this as a valid criticism. Like, that guy signed the Patriot Act. It was his people who drew it up. It was, you know what I mean? And you could be sitting there going, well, Pete, yeah, but we had to get those terrorists. I don't think you've read that document then. I don't think you know what it says in there. The Patriot Act was a complete removal of our right to face our accuser, our right to due process, our right to a quick and speedy trial. There was a bunch of constitutional rights that got trampled by that act of Congress. Nobody said shit. That was Bush. So I'll sit here and I'll bash the hell out of Obama because I believe that he's a satanic piece of shit. And I think the same thing about Bill Clinton. And I still think the same thing about George W. Bush. He signed the Patriot Act. Have you ever read that document? Do you know what that thing means? That means they can come and get you. They can come and get me. And all they have to do is say, well, we think this guy's a terrorist, and they can ship me off to Cuba, and they can keep me there indefinitely. Do you understand that? That's a problem. That's a big problem. You can say, oh, it's a conspiracy. It's not conspiracy theory. It's written in that document. And it's happened. And it's happened. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's written into our law, and it's happened. Do you understand that? Now, pattern recognition. Again, listen, I do not want this show to turn into any sort of conspiracy theory. I don't want to feed that part of people. You know what I mean? Because I could, right? There's money to be made in that. There's plenty of people I could do every single episode, every single day on QAnon, and I would have a certain amount of viewers and listeners, and I could sell Birch Gold with commercials, and I could sell, razors or whatever, and I could make good money. I don't have any interest in doing that. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is look, you do have a pattern recognition mechanism in your brain, way down coded into your DNA, and it's there to protect you. It's there to protect you from, maybe back in the days when people lived in the woods, we lived tribally, whatever. Pattern recognition was a way to figure out how close you were to getting to dangerous animals, or, pattern recognition is it can help you to identify different sorts of leaves on bushes and stuff. So it's well, don't eat the ones that look like that, and do eat the ones that look like this. Because if you eat the ones that look like that, you're going to die. And that's how you've got that sort of pattern recognition. It's down deep, written into your DNA. And so there's certain things that you're going to be seeing that you have to be courageous to call it out. And I'll give you an example, and forgive how crude this example is. It's kind of lame, but there's a trail called the John Muir Trail, otherwise known as the Pacific Crest Trail. It used to be the John Muir Trail, and then they sort of built it out and changed its direction a little bit. But there's a trail that's almost 100% in the wilderness, right? And it goes from the border of Mexico in San Diego, and it goes even past the border of Canada. It's a long-ass trail. It's over 3,000 miles long. And I've walked many sections. I've not walked the whole thing, but I've walked a number of sections of it. And one of the things that is of note is before I started walking that trail, I did a lot of reading on it, and because there's books by John Muir and there's books by other people that have walked that trail. And one thing I found was interesting, and I don't remember the guy's name or the name of the book. I just remember reading it. I should probably correct that problem. But he was writing, and he said, the reason why people die in the woods has mostly to do with because people don't give in to their instincts. Right? When you get lost in the woods, it's frightening. Right? You're all alone, and because you're now beginning to panic, it starts screwing with your ability to decipher north, south, east, and west, and it really starts screwing with you. And when people die from the elements, right, heat or cold or lack of water or lack of food, he was making the point that most of those deaths are caused from panic. And that's evidenced by when they actually find the dead body, there's all this evidence that this person died in a panic, right? And so what he was saying was look, if you go walk in this trail, if you're not walking with other people, if you're going to do it alone, just if you should find yourself in a bad situation, right? If you should find yourself off of the trail, because here's the thing, when you're walking trails, you've got the trails that were made by people, but those trails are originally made by deer and bears and cougars and whatever. Animals have their own trails, right? So when the Pacific Crest Trail and the John Muir Trail were made, it was just people following the animal trails. The reason I say that is because when you're walking those trails, they're not actually very much bigger than they were originally when it was just deers and bears and stuff. And when you're walking those trails, there's other animal trails, and sometimes they don't look any different than one another, and you can find yourself going off into a weird direction real easy. Real easy. You can get lost in the woods very easy on that trail. And even the most experienced hikers and climbers, even those people turn up missing every now and again. So it's not it's not something to be taken lightly at all. Even if your name is Steve Rinella, probably to my mind, the most experienced outdoorsman living right now as an expert outdoorsman, or Bear Grylls, or one of these kind of people. Even those people get lost in the woods. It happens. So what this guy was saying is that the reason why, people, they start panicking and then they die from the elements, he said it has more to do with, he was saying look, you have instincts in you and it's already there. You're already protected. But your sense of smell, it will tell you where food is. And it's in your DNA. And if you spend any time out in the woods and not smoke cigarettes and don't take any, if you're on medication, don't take any medication, and just relax and go out in the woods, you'll start picking up smells of things that you can eat. You'll smell something and it will trigger that mechanism in your body where it's oh, we can eat this. Water, for example. You know what I mean? Believe it or not, when water comes out of the earth, when you drink water the way that God intended for you to drink it, when it comes straight out of a geyser out of the planet, that's clean ass water, right? And it has a smell, and more times than not, it's kind of a sweet smell. And if you're panicking, the thing is you have got to calm down, and you've got to let your instincts take over. And this is what this guy's whole point was. Is like, look, if you find yourself in this situation where you're lost and you don't have any water and you run out of food and whatever, he's like, you have got to calm down. Close your eyes and focus on what your instincts are telling you, because it's all been written right into your blood. It's there. Just the same way that animals have it, you have it. So if you find yourself in that situation, and if you're not Bear Grylls and you're not Steve Rinella and you're not some sort of expert, just focus on, being guided by your instincts, because it will take you to water and it will take you to food, provided you're not in the damn Sahara Desert or something like that. You know what I mean? But on the Pacific Crest Trail, there's only like one section where you're in horrible desert, and even there, in that section, there is food. Why did I just say all this? I'll tell you why. In the Sierra Nevada mountains, which there's a large section of that trail that you go through, and even like the mountain ranges that are in California, whatever, there's an onion that grows. You know those green onions, the long, thin green onions, the white bulb at the bottom? It's like those. And there's these onions that, they grow everywhere. And once you've been in the woods for a couple of days, right, and you've kind of let the fresh air and the clean water cleanse your palate, when you're walking down the trail, you can smell them. It's like, what smells like onion? Like, it smells like fresh onions. Not right after they've been cut, but like before you cut them. It's a nice smell, and you're like, oh, that's onions. And you start looking around and you see the little green sprouts sticking out of the ground. It's like, oh, you can pick those right out of the ground and eat them. They're good. However, there are two species of the same onion, and they look identical. They look almost picture perfect identical. One of them looks slightly different than the other. And one of them is good for you. It's full of nutrients and vitamins and all kinds of good stuff and flavor. And the other one will kill you. It will kill you. And you will be way out in the mountains and nobody's going to come and get you. Right? Pattern recognition. That's what pattern recognition is for. It's there to keep you from dying. It's there to help you and enhance your life. Right? And if you know the patterns, right? And you start letting yourself get accustomed to the patterns, the better it works. Right? Sure, you might go off the deep end a little bit, you know what I mean, and start thinking about, the earth is flat or whatever. And if you get to that point, like, you should probably slow down. But ultimately, like, you have pattern recognition built into you. And when it comes to, whether it be like Eddie Bravo and completely revolutionizing the fighting world, or people that more and more are beginning to demand that our president that we have right now that we have a guy that seems to be more of an American president, where he understands that he is actually a servant of the people are looking to him and saying, listen, you need to declassify all of this stuff. We need to know what happened with John F. Kennedy. We need to know everything about Hillary Rodham Clinton. We need to know everything about Barack Hussein Obama, because there is some dirty shit behind that. We don't know what it is because it's all classified. We have a living former sitting president who has his college transcripts classified, right? The reason why he's no longer a lawyer, the reason why his wife is no longer a lawyer, like, there's all these things about that man that are classified. It's like he's a living person who was running the free world. You can't have that classified. We can see those patterns. You can see it. It's like, look, I've made this distinction before. Look, if something happens, if an accusation is made once, all right, whatever. Like Pizzagate. Remember Pizzagate? Ooh, the pizza place where they rape kids. Right? That was the first time I'd ever heard of any of that stuff. right? That was the first time I had ever heard even an inkling that there was some weird pedophile ring going on in Washington, D.C. And so when I heard that, I was like, come on, dude, right? But then you go back and it's like, oh, no, no, no. These are accusations that have been made for decades by many other people, most of whom are dead now, with horrifically suspicious, you know what I mean? Like, it's not one time. There is a pattern emerging. There's a pattern emerging, and it's not an emergence of people making random accusations, right? Like, look, as we all know, our law is meant to protect us. It is not meant to be something that you use to club other people to death with, right? Like in California, California is the most litigious state in the union. What litigious means is that we sue more people than any other state, right? We sue each other, we sue other people, whatever. Now, in America, we have a very interesting aspect to our civilization is that we take very good care of our people who can no longer use their legs or whatever, like people in wheelchairs. Like we have wheelchair ramps everywhere. We have handicap parking. We have like all of these things that are built into our society where it's like, look, there's some of us, not very many, but there are some of us that have to have a wheelchair to move around, and we need to accommodate for those people. You may think that that's not a very big deal. Well, I challenge you, go get a passport and travel to the rest of the civilized world. Go to Australia, go to England, go to Sweden. I know leftists love to talk about Sweden and Denmark. Go there. You go there. Go to Switzerland and see how it is that people that are in wheelchairs, see how they live over there. There's no place on earth that's like America when it comes to folks that are sitting in wheelchairs, right? But in California, there's a number of people who have made themselves very wealthy by manipulating this particular social grace that we have built into our laws, right? It is law that if you have a building, if you have a business that's open to the public, you have to have wheelchair ramps. And so there's people that go around, and as it is that is still a fairly new development in our society. Like it wasn't always like that in America, and it wasn't until just recently. And there's people that go around, and all they do is they look for people who have not yet brought themselves up to that code, and then they sue them and put them out of business and take all their money, right? Now, why did I just tell you that story? Gosh darn it, why did I just tell you that story? Why did I tell you that story? Anyways, hopefully I'll be able to come back around to it. But when you see people being accused over and over and over again, oh yeah, I was making the distinction, right? There's people that go around accusing other people all the time of wrongdoing, and it's because they're assholes, right? These people who they themselves are in wheelchairs, who just go around suing other people for not having yet been up to code yet, and the fact that there is a legal mechanism for those people to molest other people in that way using the law is despicable. And there are despicable people, right? There are despicable people who will come up with bullshit charges just to make other people's lives worse because they don't have anything better to do. It's like atheists when they sue the city for having a cross. Or religious symbology or symbolism on their buildings. It's like, dude, you're an asshole. Dude, would you just shut the F up, go away? Like, you're not doing anything good here. But the distinction I wanted to make between those two people is like, look, these people that continually bring up that Bill and Hillary Clinton are running a child sex ring, these are all very different people, and there's nothing in it for them to make those accusations. They're not suing those people for money. And they're not the same person. There's several of them, many of them. And these people that, they make these accusations against, Barack Obama. It's like, well, wait a minute. You can laugh and joke all you want about the truthers, right? Oh, Barack Obama, you guys keep because Donald Trump was actually the one who started it years ago. He said, look, this guy's not even an American citizen. And you can say, well, there's just that one accusation, but it's not. It's everything about this man is classified. We have no way of verifying who this man ever was. That is a big problem when you're talking about the greatest seat of power on the planet. And now we see a pattern emerging. And it's not a pattern of some asshole going around suing other people because they don't have wheelchair ramps. It's many, many, many other people who have a tendency to end up dead in very weird circumstances. And you can see that. You can see the pattern emerging and say, okay, that looks fishy. At the very least, it looks fishy. Right? Tower 13, you know what I mean? The plane that crashed into the Pentagon building that suddenly just didn't exist anymore. You don't find, okay, all right, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. You don't have anything to say about that? There's nothing there that's intriguing to you. Are you saying that there's no pattern there that you can see? Well, the reason I wanted to bring all of this stuff up was not so that I could sit in my living room on a Tuesday afternoon and sound like a crazy person, which I am thoroughly convinced that I do. But it goes to a greater point. There are other things that are coming up. We're going to be finding out about the Clintons. We are going to be finding out how somebody like John Brennan got to where he got. We're going to be finding out about the Obamas, and this will not go down easy. Not even for you and me. We are going to have revelations about what is going on in our government, what has been going on in our government. And there's going to be bloodshed. There are going to be people that when they see the truth, they are going to lose their minds and start killing people. It's going to be bad. Right? We are on the verge of finding some things out that's going to be very uncomfortable for all of us. And you're going to see that those things that you were just convinced that, oh, well, I kind of see a pattern, but I don't really know because I don't have all the facts. Well, we're going to be having all of those facts. And so to you, dear listener, I beg of you, when it comes about, you have to close your eyes and calm down. All right? You cannot get lost in the woods. If you start getting lost in the woods, you're going to have to sit down and close your eyes and take a deep breath. Right? Gather your wits about you. Everything that we need to get through this period is written into our DNA. The Lord said, I have given you all things pertaining to life and godliness. And now that word godliness, it means like, I've given you everything that you need to have a relationship with me. Just the same way that I've given you everything that you need to maintain your breathing, maintain your heartbeat, to maintain your life if you're out in the woods and you're all by yourself. Everything that you need, I built it right into your blood. That's life. And he said, I've given you everything. The same way that you have everything that you need for your life, it's already built inside of you. You have everything that you need to walk with God. That too is also built into you. Now it helps if you have faith, but in that what I just said, but you don't really need it because you can see that there's evidence of it. You know that you don't have to think about your breathing. You know that you don't have to set a timer to remind yourself to eat or when to go to sleep. It's built into you. You know what I mean? God has given you everything that you need for life and a relationship with him. And that's what he says. I've given you all things pertaining to your life and to your walk with me. It's already in you. So as these revelations come about and as society becomes more crazy and as that sort of panic continues to set in, as we look around and we see like, good God, a communist was running the CIA? What the F? There's over $40 billion that's allotted to child protective services. Why? Is there that many people abusing their kids? And where are all these kids? Why is there $40 billion for this one thing? And we are going to have those revelations of why all that stuff is happening. Why is it the President of the United States and the Attorney General of the United States sold weapons to the drug cartels? Weapons that were used against American citizens, and nobody said boo about it. You're going to find out very, very soon. Right? You're going to find out. And I'm telling you that there are going to be times where you're going to feel like you're going crazy from all of it. And in that time, I just wanted to give you this message today, and this will probably be one of my lowest rated podcasts ever, but I just wanted to tell you this from the Lord. From the Lord. I've given you all things pertaining to life and godliness. You're fine. Everything that you need to survive and live and thrive and flourish, I've built it into you, says the Lord. I've built it into you. So if you're in the woods and you're panicking and you feel lost and you can't even tell which way is east and west, and you don't know where the water is, and you don't know where your next food is going to come from, when you find yourself in that place, hear the Lord saying, I've given you all things pertaining to life and godliness. Slow down. Sit down. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Take it all in. Smell everything around you. Hear everything around you. And you will find that the way, it will unfold in front of you. Wow, today's episode got kind of weird. I wanted to talk about something completely different. That's the show for today, folks. I would appreciate it if you hit a subscribe. I would appreciate it if you hit share. I would appreciate it if you called your mama and said, hey, the Arch Advocate podcast, you got to get way into this guy. He's dropping knowledge, yo. If you go on to archadvocate.com, remember that? Go on to archadvocate.com. Click on my Twitter page. Click on the Telegram discussion. The Telegram is a cool place. And by the way, to the creeps, I have not been as active as I would like to be on Telegram, and I apologize about that. I got a baby. I got another one on the way. There's stuff going on. But listen, join us. All right. If you're new to the show and if you've not, either written in on email or joined us on Telegram or come on to my Twitter page and join the conversation there, please do that. Community is going to be a main component of how we get through this very strange time that we're going through. And it's very important that you remind yourself regularly that you are not alone. We're all going through it. We're all feeling this weird, it's like, what the hell is going on here? What kind of bizarre world is this? We're all feeling that way. You're not alone. Come hang out with us. Sometimes we just sit around and bitch about how weird things are, which is good. It's useful. Join us on that. Listen, if you want to support the show, it costs me money to keep this show going. So if you want to kick down a couple of bucks, go and do that on Patreon on a monthly basis, or if you just want to send some dough, like on a one-time basis, you can do that on PayPal. Whatever, man. It's up to you. I appreciate you tuning in, hitting share, telling a friend, all that stuff, and I will talk to you mañana. Later.